lesson, I'm going to teach you about 9 rhythm patterns. Beginners tend to mess up all the time at the piano, and this is actually a follow-up live stream to a lesson I made recently of the same name, 9 rhythm patterns. Beginners mess up all the time, so I'll make sure I include a link in the description for you for that video. I recommend watching it. Probably you can watch it before or after our session today. This is really just a live session to get together, kind of go over some of these concepts so I can answer any questions you may have. And it's just kind of like an extra little bonus practice. So if you are in the chat right now, feel free to let me know that you're here. I always love to hear from new and returning students, and especially if something you can't see me or hear me, especially let me know that. That would be super duper helpful. So we will get started here. Let me get a couple, or really just one thing situated, and we will get started here. Okay, we need to go over the basics of counting first. And actually, I do have a question for you guys. Hold on. Let me bring this up. So I want you to answer this in the chat while I am kind of teaching the opening stuff here. So I have a question for you, and that is, on a scale of 1 to 10, where would you put your rhythm skills? 1 being the worst and 10 being the best. So let me know, 1 through 10. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Is it Jorge? Welcome to our live stream. Okay, so let me know the answer to that. 1 out of 10, what are your skills? Because your input really helps me know where you guys are at with this stuff. But we're going to go over the beginning stuff regardless, because I think it's a good review and it catches everybody up to where we need to be. So when we're looking at rhythm, we need to be aware of a few different things. And the first thing I want you to be aware of is that music is divided into these boxes that are divided by these vertical lines. Let me make sure. Oh, I have it right here. It's amazing when the stuff you need is right in front of you. But anyway, it is divided by these things we call bar lines. Let me move this out of the way. We don't need that. And that's what you really need to know. And just like a box in real life, a certain number of things can fit in a box, right? Like a shoe box. 2 shoes in a shoe box, right? You're not going to fit 3 or 4 in a shoe box unless it's larger. It's a certain size, and it can fit a certain number of things in it, just like a box. And that's why I like to say that measures are basically boxes. Okay, now you may notice as well that there is a top staff. Oops. And there's also a bottom staff right there. And if you know anything about piano, the top staff's played with the treble clef, bottom staff's played with the bass clef. But I have a very important point I want to make about this. And this is that when you are counting across in your music, let me write out a few notes here. Oops. When you are writing notes out in your music, or you're playing them in vertical columns. So you're going to play these actually at once. Boom, 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 just like that. And we have 4 notes here going across, just played at the same time. And we call these beats. A beat is like a regular, people don't like me saying this, but it's like a regular interval of sound, right? So, and it has to be like consistent. So if I'm doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, or when you're listening to music and you hear that pulse is actually the right word I was looking for. You hear that pulse moving along, that is what we call the beats. And we have 4 beats in this measure, and what tells us how many beats we can have in each measure, it's this thing right here called the time signature. The top number tells you that there's 4 beats in each measure, and that the bottom number, but I can't talk today, tells you that the quarter note gets 1 beat. So guess what? These are quarter notes because you have 4 of them in a measure. Makes sense, right? Okay, let's continue here. Now let's say we split those up those quarter notes up, and now let's say we have 8 eighth notes, and they're going to be played twice as fast. I'm still going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, but this time it's going to be counted as 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm just playing twice as many beats in between each, either twice as many notes in between each of the beats. All right, let's see. Good morning. 5 to 6 is what Terry says. We got an 8 from Edgar USA. Let me get the chat in here, guys, so we can all enjoy it together. Let me get this situated. Hold on a second. There it is. All right, good. Make sure I got everybody in here. There it is. All right, good. So if you have any comments or questions along the way, let me know. If not, I do want to continue going over some of this basic stuff, and then we're going to get into some of these rhythm patterns as I promised in the beginning. Okay, let's do this. There we go. So to account for the other half of the beat, so we're talking about eighth notes here. What the heck? They need to update this software. It's not as good as I want it to be. Anyway, we still have our 4 beats here. 1, 2, 3, 4. And to account for the other half of a beat, we use the term and. Now, this explanation is very important, although simple, right? We now have 2 notes in place of 1. Like we had the 4 quarter notes, now we just have 2 notes in place of 1. And that's important to keep in mind because now the number and the and each represent half of the beat. The number is a half, the and is a half. The number's a half, the and's a half. The number's a half, the and's a half. The last number's a half, the and's a half. And this is very, very important when we're going to talk about like dotted quarter notes and things like that each of these represents half of a beat. And it's just going to be counted like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Just like that. Okay, here we have 2 half notes. And we can only fit 2 of them in each measure. We have 4 total beats, so therefore how many half notes can we have? The answer is going to be 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. Just like that. All right, it seems like you guys are ready for the dotted quarter explanation. So if you want explanations for like the dotted half note, if you don't know that beginner stuff, make sure you check out the original lesson that I posted because that's going to catch you up on all this. But I wanted to together go over this dotted quarter note because I feel like it's something a lot of students get wrong. And then we'll kind of practice some of these and I'll ask you some questions about it. Okay, so we need to map out our beats. So this dotted quarter note here right in the beginning, what the dot does is it adds half of the note's value back to itself. So if the quarter note is worth 1 beat, the dot is going to be worth a half. So what's 1 plus a half? It's 1.5 beats. Now the real question is, how in the world do we count 1.5 beats? And this is how we're going to do it. Remember before when we were talking about the eighth notes right here that I said each of these represents half of a beat. Now I have a question for you. How many halves are in 1.5? Well, you have a half, you have another half which is a whole, and then another half which equals 1.5. So checking out these, considering that these equal half of a beat, we need the dotted quarter note to take up 3 halves of a beat. So that would take up actually 1 and 2, right? If each of these represents a half, and you have 3 of them, so that would be the dotted quarter note, 1 and 2, and then the next and would be right after 2. So let's go back and write that out. So I wrote out 1 and 2. I underlined it because that's how long the note's going to be. And like I said, the and right here is just going to hit on that eighth note. So it's going to be counted 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now, this is very important. When you get to the quarter notes, which kind of slow down a bit, you still want to be counting 3 and 4 and, because that will help you count a bit more accurately. If you do this, 1 and 2 and 3, 4. I actually played those too long because I wasn't counting 3 and 4 and, just like that. Okay, any questions about the dotted quarter notes so far? Let me see if I have a question to ask you guys. I think I may. Let me check my notes here. See where we're at. Okay. Let me see. Okay. I do have a question for you guys. Let me do this. Okay. Let's talk a little bit about something I didn't talk about in the original video at all, and that is this. Give me a second. Okay, I have a question for you guys in the chat. This is what we want. Okay. This time signature is called 6/8. Right here. And so my question for you is, how many quarter notes can I fit in this measure of 6/8? How many quarters? How many quarters? And we are not moving on until I get a great answer. Your videos are brilliant. Thank you. Well, thank you. Tommy says metronome time. I'm certainly going to plan a video in the future with a metronome. We may get to it today. Maybe I will introduce that today, because that would be kind of giving you guys a little bit more than what the original video gave you, which is an interesting idea. But the question is, for the meantime, how many... Wait, that's not the right one. Here it is. How many quarter notes can I fit in this measure of 6/8? It's kind of a trick question. If you're brand new to counting, you might not be able to get it right. But I'm really just testing to see if anybody is advanced enough to answer this question. And I'm looking at you, Edge, or Edgar USA, Edgear USA, is that what your name is? Mr. Drummer, Mr. or Miss Drummer? Let's see if you can get it. So the question is, or maybe even guess if you need to, how many quarter notes are in this measure of 6/8? I'll give you guys another minute. 8. Okay. There could be. There could be. So we got 8. I mean, I need another answer, and then I'll tell you the answer. But we need to have at least one more guess, or educated guess, before we move on. Okay, let me lead you to the answers. 3. So we got an 8, a 3, and a 16. Okay, so good. We have 3 answers here, and we're going to see which one of you is correct, whether it's Deb or Patricia. So let's answer this question. So we have 6/8. And what that tells us is that there are 6 beats in each measure. However, the tricky part of the question, which is kind of what I was testing you guys on, is that the bottom number is now an 8, which tells you now that the 8th note gets 1 beat, which kind of changes everything, doesn't it? So let me write out a measure of 6/8 so you can see visually what it looks like, and then we'll answer the question. This is what a full measure of 6/8 looks like, and it's literally 6 eighth notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And unlike in 4/4, where you're counting 1 and 2 and 3 and, remember that the 8th note now gets 1 beat. So you don't need the ands unless you're dealing with 16th notes. It's just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So Now, what we're going to do is I have a question for you. I won't, you don't have to type it in, but a question to think on, which is how many eighth notes are in a quarter note, because that conversion still remains the same. And the answer is actually 2, right? 1 and 2 and 3 and, right? We had 2 parts to each note there. So if I draw a quarter note right here, that's worth 2 eighth notes. And therefore, in 6/8, it's actually worth 2 beats. I know it's a little bit weird, but when you start getting into time signatures that end in 8, it changes around what the notes are worth. So an eighth note is now worth 1 beat. The quarter note I wrote down here is worth now 2 beats. So 1, 2. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the person that said 3, which was, I believe, Patricia, had the correct answer the entire time. So 3 quarter notes. I know it was a tricky question, but like I said, it kind of gave me an idea that we really need to talk about 6/8 and time signatures that end with 8. So maybe we'll spend more of the rest of this lesson kind of going over that. Oh, that must have been notes for something else. Sorry about that. Let's do some more 6/8 then, since it seems to be uncharted territory for some of you guys. Okay, I have a question for you. Remember in 4/4 that a quarter note was worth 1 beat. But in 6/8, what I just showed you, it was worth 2 beats, right? We had 3 of those in each measure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But now we have 2 dotted quarter notes. So what gives? Well, let's think about what the conversion is so far. An eighth note was worth half of a beat in 4/4, and now it's worth a whole beat, so it's doubled in value. The quarter note was worth 1 beat, and now it's worth 2 beats, so it's doubled in value, right? And so the dotted quarter note, which was worth 1.5 beats before, is actually now worth 3 beats because it's worth double the value. Oh, Trisha. Sorry, Patricia. Sorry, Trisha. I will probably call you Patricia a bunch of times. Oh, Trixie. Okay, anyways. You guys are discussing amongst yourselves. Anyway, so you got 3 beats here and 3 beats here. And if you're wondering what I'm talking about the chat. So anyway, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is how you would count out that measure. Just like that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And there's one thing I want to bring up about 6/8 real quick. Let's go back here. Now, you won't find any of this 6/8 business in the video I told you about that I put out recently called 9 Rhythm Patterns Beginners Mess Up. This is kind of uncharted territory, but what I want you to notice the most, let me erase these quarters real quick, is that 6/8 loves to divide into 2 groups. See how up top there's a group of 3 here, group of 3 here. It loves to divide into 2 separate parts. Loves to do it. So when we write out rhythms, or play rhythms, there's almost always going to be like a symmetry to how the measures look. They might not be exactly side to side, but you should be able to almost put a line down the middle a lot of times in 6/8. So a lot of times, instead of counting 6 individual beats like this, one, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, it's sometimes counted into 2 groups of 3. So instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, it's 1, 2, 1, 2. Kind of like that. It kind of has like almost a dance back and forth type of feeling to it. This is really live. I love you. Thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate all my students, of course. Thank you for the appreciation. Anyway, I almost feel like Mike. Have you ever seen Naruto and Mike Guy? He's like, thank you for your support. And people are like making fun of him. Anyway, you probably don't remember that. If you remember that episode of Naruto, leave it in the comments. I actually think a lot of my fan base is older, so or a lot of my students here are a bit older, so you probably don't know what Naruto is. But anyway, let's continue. But you missed a note. When did I miss a note? I don't know. Anyway, let's continue. All right. Any questions about 6/8, everybody? Let me know in the comments below, and I'd love to hear from you. Okay, now let's continue. We do have a little bit more to go on. I want to talk about triplets a little bit, looking at my notes here. So let's do just that. Give me a second. Never mind. Sorry. I had to get something set up on my computer real quick. There it is. There it is. Okay. So let's show you triplets. So here we have a triplet followed by 3 quarter notes. Now, when we were talking about these notes before, wait, let me see here. Is this in 6/8 or 4/4? Let me change something real quick. There it is. There we go. Okay, anyway. So before, we were dividing each beat into 2 parts with eighth notes. Remember? 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now a triplet is going to split them up into 3 equal parts. I like to do this by saying the number of the beat plus triplet. 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. And they need to be nice and even. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. It can't be like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, like that. Like when you count rhythms, it's got to be nice and even. So this rhythm here specifically is going to be counted as 1 triplet, 2, 3, 4. Now when I get to beats 2, 3, 4 in my head, I'm really counting 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. And that helps me maintain a consistent tempo, which is, the evenness of which you count the beats. It allows me to count more evenly on these last 2 beats. Because if I don't do that, 1 triplet, 2, 3, because the notes 4, because the notes slow down, I'm kind of using some guesswork on these quarter notes. So if I subdivide them or divide them each into 3s the whole time, I'll be counting nice and evenly. Now the question you should have should be this. What if, and we're going to ignore what's over here for a second. What if you go from like a triplet to a duplet, right? Which is a triplet to an eighth note, right? Because I just said you want to subdivide them all by triplets. 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. But what if you have 1 triplet, 2 and 3 and 4 and? How in the world do you count that? And how did I do that so easily? Well, the answer, unfortunately for all of us, is the metronome. And what I like to do is I like to put it on 4/4. And what this is going to do is this is going to provide some beeps and clicks along with the beat. So here we go. 1. That is not what I meant this to do. Wait. How in the world? I'm going to be honest, it wasn't supposed to do that. I don't know why it made that noise. Anyway, it's going to provide our beats. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Now it's working. 3, 4, 1 triplet, 2 and 3, 4. 1 triplet, 2 and 3, 4. So what I'm doing is I'm playing the triplet on beat 1 like I'm supposed to. And then when it hits the second count, I'm then dividing it into 2 different counts, 2 different beats. Let me explain it better. So what I'm going to do is beat 3, 4. Here's beat 1, 1, 2, 3, What I'm going to do is I'm going to beat 1, I'm going to hit a triplet, and then beats 2, I'm going to hit an eighth note. Beat 3 triplet, beat 4 eighth note. So it's going to sound like this. 2, 3, 4. It sound like this. 1 triplet, 2 and 3, 4. 1 triplet, 2 and 3, 4. So I'm using the metronome to make sure that I'm landing on each beat, and I'm really concentrating on splitting each beat into their correct amounts. So for example, you might want to try just doing straight triplets first. 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet, 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. So you want to try that, and then you want to try seeing if you can divide them into eighth notes. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and seeing if you can get that along with that. And then you want to see if you can alternate between those. 1. Why does it keep doing that? I think it's malfunctioning. Let me try it again. 1 triplet, 2 and 3 triplet, 4 and 1 triplet, 2 and 3, 4. Well, hopefully your your metronome will work, unlike mine. I'm just making sure that the maybe. You know what? I think I figured it out. One of these batteries is not really in here right, and that could cause some weirdness. I apologize for the delay here. Hold on. And now it won't close anymore. Perfect. There it is. Will it beep? Oh, it works now. So anyway, try it with the metronome. Crossin, can you stop teaching a bit and play Chrono Trigger? No, actually, I am going to silence you because you are kind of being a pain. Sorry. This is like a learning environment. I'm gonna put you in timeout for 5 minutes. How about that? I appreciate you, but you're overdoing it. When you start taking over the entire chat, I gotta put a muzzle on you. I'm sorry. All right, but you're welcome back in 5 minutes. Anyway, guys, any questions about that? About what I just explained? Sorry, the explanation was a little bit all over the place because of the malfunctioning of this, but I do explain this again in that video that I told you about. All right, guys, let me make sure I didn't miss anybody. Okay, I didn't miss anybody. Perfect. All right, guys, any comments or questions before we adjourn today? I do want to break down what the next upcoming schedule is going to be for, what we're doing in the future here. So, if you don't know already, Saturdays are new live streams. So next Saturday at the same time, we're going to be meeting at 10:15 a.m. in the morning, every Saturday live. And then on Sunday at 10:15 in the morning, EST my time, the new video is going to come out. So Saturday is new live stream, Sunday is new video. Saturday is new live stream, Sunday is new video. So remember that, because tomorrow a new video is coming out, and then next week, next Saturday, a new live stream is coming out. So any questions about that? Any questions about what we talked about today? I do want to quiz you guys on something before we go. Let me figure something else out here. All right, I want one final quiz question for you guys, because this will help me know if you guys really understand this stuff. So let me get that in. Okay, here we go. Are you guys ready? So this time signature is 3/8. And the question I have for you is, how many eighth notes can you fit in this measure? And we're not gonna go forward until I get the answers for this. So we're at 3/8, and the question is, how many eighth notes can fit in this measure of 3/8. Ready? Go! And then I'll give you the last minute kind of announcements, and then we'll adjourn for today. So how many eighth notes in a measure of 3/8? I just want to test to see if you guys understand some of this basic stuff. Or I'll give you another minute. If I don't get any things, I will answer it. But it would really encourage me if you guys could tell me. Okay, we have an answer. 3. We need another answer. I have to make sure that you guys got this. So we got 3 from Sylvia. And I guess maybe that's it, guys. But let me explain how this works. So remember 3/8, the way I like to think about all these time signatures is that the top number tells you how many, so 3, and the bottom number tells you eighth notes. So therefore, you can have 3 eighth notes in each of these measures. And one thing I want to tell you about too is eighth notes can either be beamed across or they can be separated. If they're separated, the flag that beams them across kind of breaks apart and it kind of falls to the side. And we have another answer, 6 here. So the answer was actually 3. And if it was 6/8 over here, then it would be 6. But not a problem, you know? Sometimes we don't. Yes, 3 is the correct answer. Very good. Very good, David. All right, guys. So that's all I have for you today. Remember to watch the original lesson that I put out. 9 rhythm patterns. Beginners mess up all the time. And that should help catch all you guys up. So thanks for coming by today, you guys. Your piano teacher, Tim, here. And I'll see you next week. Thank you so much. Actually, I'll see you tomorrow for a new video. All right, guys, thanks for coming by. Thank you. Let's see, Rakoto. Thank you, Sylvia. Thank you, Crossin. Sorry I had to, kind of silence you for a minute. No hard feelings. We got Patricia, Trixie. Thanks for coming by. Michael. I am McQuaid. Thanks for coming by. We got Deb. Thanks for coming by. Michael. Tommy. Thanks for coming by. We got Ed Gear USA, Terry, thanks for coming by, and Jorge, thanks for coming by, everybody.